Good morning. I'm so excited to kick off round 4 of Global Conversations with two incredible women. Ashley Bouder, founder and artistic director of the Ashley Bouder Project. She's a principal dancer at New York City Ballet, and most recently, author of the delightful Welcome to Ballet School. I'm also very excited to be interviewing Allison DeBona, who is a founder and the co-artistic director of Artie Motion. She is a first soloist at Ballet West, and they are both moms. And we're also celebrating Ashley's a mom of, or a grandma, I guess, of new kittens. So hopefully we'll get to that. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I'm beyond honored and delighted to talk to you. I'm going to start with Allison, and I would ask you each to give us a brief overview of your careers, backgrounds, companies, and then what you've done in addition to your careers as professional dancers.
Thank you for having me. I'm also honored to be here with you guys. So I appreciate all the work you're doing for ballet, and just thanks again. So I'm currently a first soloist with Ballet West. I've been here about 15 years. Before becoming a dancer here, I did graduate from Indiana University. So I went to college. So I was one of those dancers that didn't start their career until they were 24. So that was also a very interesting way to start. But I started Artie Motion 7 years ago. It started just as a summer intensive in Cleveland, Ohio, and it has grown into so much more now. And I have a lot of plans for it after I retire. I'm just trying to juggle still maintaining my dance career and what that means, and now a mother. With the help of my husband, Rex Tilton, who's a principal with Ballet West. So I'm not just a one-woman show, and it's important to acknowledge that, because I think I couldn't have done a lot of this without help.
Yeah, I think what I'm finding is the most successful people in and around ballet are able to do that laser focus on technique and training and discipline, but also, I think, as Ashley has done so well, move it out to other projects and to actually take a long view of what's going on around. Ashley, can you talk a little bit about your background, your career?
Yeah, I grew up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I went to Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet under the direction of Marcia Dale Weary. I came to SAB when I was 15, just for 1 year. And then I found myself as a corps member in New York City Ballet at the age of 16. I went up through the ranks, made it to principal in about 5 years, and I've been there ever since. This year I just completed my 20th year in the company. Wow. I'm on my 21st, sort of, during this pandemic. I founded Ashley Bouder Project about 7 years ago, so I think Allison and I must have been on some wavelength together.
Yeah.
I founded it as sort of a pet project. As a woman in dance, especially as a woman, you really feel that you're told what to do, and you don't really have a lot of choices. And I was feeling a little bit beaten down, and I wanted to have my own. I wanted to work with who I wanted to work with, and I wanted to dance with who I wanted to dance with. And I felt that I wasn't getting the opportunities that I really in my heart wanted. So I founded my project, and a year later, due to some circumstances of just really seeing the lack of diversity, the lack of gender equality in the hiring practices of companies, especially in choreography, and then talking to my musician friends about composers and the lacks in that area too, I changed my mission statement to really focus on hiring women, focus on hiring people of color, focus on finding people who identify as other, and building those things into what we need in our dance society. So I've been doing that ever since. And actually, the children's book I wrote, my computer is on a big pile of them right now, so it's propped up, is all about diversity and inclusion. All of the children in my book, my daughter's in the book, and her little preschool class, these are kids from her preschool class. She went to a very diverse school. And they're all kids that she knew. They all look different. The boys wear tutus at some points. The girls wear tunics.
Wow. And
try.
the world doesn't blow up, right? When that happens.
Yeah, and it's fine. And I don't even talk about it in the book. It just kind of happens. They all go through like the story of Sleeping Beauty and try out the characters, and everybody gets to play whatever they want. So I've been trying to incorporate that into almost every aspect of my life. I am part of a couple of organizations that are trying to work towards diversity right now during this pandemic, so that we can come back different.
Which is why we're so excited to interview you. I'm going to talk about my aha moment. I think, Ashley, you had at least one or maybe a cascading series of aha moments. And Allison, I don't know. So my aha moment was I've been asked to, and I was very successful raising money. And I'm good at asking and I'm not embarrassed. And then I began to wonder, one day, I think, I just sat up and I looked around the audience, and the audience is almost all female. And then I opened the program, and most of the donations are by women. And I've since learned both the audience and the donor base are about 70% female for ballet. And then I'm looking at the repertoire, and there's not a woman in sight, maybe a Twyla Tharp piece. And I kind of went, what's going on here? I think both artists and social activists see a streetscape and see something different, see a theater and see possibilities. And I know for me, then I started asking questions. And as I said, it was almost a series of cascading aha moments. Ashley, I'm going to ask you first, and then Allison, did you have one of those? I seem to remember that you did have that aha moment.
I did. And it's the reason I changed my mission statement of my company. First disclaimer, I love New York City Ballet, and they're doing a lot of really positive work in this area. But back in 2015, for our fall gala, it's our huge gala of the year. It's the biggest moneymaker we have in terms of that kind of fundraising. We had 5 new commissions on the program, which is a crazy undertaking. And they did, at that point, black and white posters were all the rage. So we did a huge black and white poster, and they put the headshots of all the choreographers on, and they looked almost identical. They were 5 white men. And I was coming to work, and they had just put it up, and I remember just stopping and staring at it for like 2 minutes straight, just kind of like, what, like, really? And having this like huge, like, visceral reaction that was just like, this isn't where I work, like, this isn't happening. And it was just so in your face. And the New York Times wrote about it. I was interviewed in an article for that, and people started really writing about it, because I think this poster was just like really telling. And people started to look at the numbers, right? And that's what you guys do. That's why I love that you guys do that, because people are, one white male prolific choreographer said, I don't see a big problem with this. Like, I've worked for female directors. I know female choreographers, like, they're out there, they're working. And I'm like, okay, but like, are they as famous as you? And like, how many are there? Just because you've worked for 1 or 2 doesn't mean that the numbers are equitable. It doesn't mean that they're anywhere close. It doesn't, they're like the ones that like got through.
Yes, exactly. And okay, now we've checked that box, and now I know. There was actually, I was sorry to interrupt, but I was listening to a NPR, of course, discussion of how far right-wing political views get sort of pushed into the mainstream. And one of the things that they talked about was how, if you want to believe a certain way, if you don't want to take action, if you're comfortable where you are, you will find that one example and then center that and say everything's okay because of that one example.
Yeah, well, I was talking, I mean, I'm taking a business ethics course right now. And when we talk about like how you make an ethical decision, or how you justify your decision as ethical, is you gather facts, but you only gather the ones that you feel comfortable with.
Confirmation bias. Yep.
Yeah. And when you're looking at consequences, you don't look at the consequences of things that you don't choose to see or that don't agree with you. You don't want to look at the hard things, and people, pretend that they really don't exist.
Yeah. So Allison, I don't know if you had an aha moment. I know that Art of Motion is not only geared towards women, but is centered on the idea, which I love, that training is vital to fostering a better, diverse, equitable environment. Can you talk a little bit about how you get there and whether you had an Ashley and Liza aha moment, or it was just sort of a gradual realization something's not right?
So I'm going to be really careful about how I put this forward because it's really important to me that it comes across in the way that I really feel. I
Sure.
do think that because I went to college and came into the professional ballet world later, I never felt worried about expressing who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like. So that was like one of the first things I noticed when I first got into the company as an apprentice and I was 24. I immediately questioned, why am I an apprentice? Because that's just how this goes. Because when it came down to what I had to learn to become, you know, a ranked dancer, I felt like I had already gained those, you know, those know-hows through college and everything else. So for me, right away, I started questioning the world that I loved. Because to me, when I walked into the ballet world, it was because I loved to dance. And all of the things that were happening around me, I almost just didn't understand immediately. And I was like, no, this is just not, like, I have to operate very fairly all the time. Like in my head, if something isn't fair across the board, like immediately I have that issue. So for me, for Art Emotion, I have found that people want change from organizations that have been established for a very long time, and they ask them and they educate them and they do all of these things, but at what point do we say, when we're blue in the face, you have all of the tools to make the right decisions? If you're not, why are we still focused on these large organizations when there are smaller organizations who from the beginning have been making choices to be more equitable, to be more inclusive? Why aren't we talking about them? So with Art Emotion, my husband and I, we talk about this all the time. And from the beginning, we've opened up a diverse group of people who come in to work for us. We find a more diverse group of people coming to become students on the student level and the adult level. We have a huge adult program. I mean, I can go into full length about that, but how important it is to re-engage the community of dancers who have felt that they weren't included by ballet for so many years, that they walked away, but they're the ones that love it. And so, like I said, for anybody that we feel like they don't belong, that's like generations and generations and generations ahead of us that will not come to the ballet. During the pandemic, I had to really look at myself again, because I felt like since I did start Art Emotion, my career on stage has taken a turn, you know, in a different direction. And I had to look at myself and say, okay, was this because the person or the people on the other side were looking at it like I didn't care, or did I not care? So I kind of really started to put boundaries, like, okay, well, Allison, you're going to be the dancer here, and you're going to be the director here, and the mom here, you know? So I think it all intertwines with how you become a leader and just my experiences as a mother and a woman.
Like, you're bringing up so many great points. One thing I did want to talk about, we do these little checklists, like choreographers checklists, sort of skill sets. Professor Gretchen Alterwitz is working on one now that's going to be up on our website, which is talking about how to teach a more inclusive class, how to be more encouraging. And that goes right to what Ashley was talking about, both in her book and why she started the Ashley Bouder Project, and also what you're trying to do. We also have another article up by a professor at a sports institute in Sweden who's worked extensively with dancers, Swedish National or Royal Ballet, I guess, I don't know the exact title, English National Ballet, and a couple of other companies. And I want to talk a little bit about how you all were trained and how we might change that training. What she talks about is the tippy-tippy balance between perfectionism and anxiety and self-destruction, and how there's always, you could do it better, you should do it better. And I'm very aware of the fact that girls, particularly somebody like Ashley, went right into a company just at the time when they're stopping raising their hand in class, just at the time where, you know, their natural abilities in math and science are sort of being turned off and squelched. You're also entering a very disciplined, some might say authoritarian environment. So it almost feels like a double whammy to me. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you. ask about the environment that you talked about with Megan, sort of lack of awareness to the outside world, and then how things can be done better.
Well, when I came into the company, I didn't even get a tour of the theater. It was like, you have to show up to class on Saturday. That was it. Now it's different. We have like a mentor program for the apprentices, and they get a tour, and they get a group session of like, welcome to New York City Ballet. Here's what you need to do, and here's all the information you need. But I didn't have any of that. I joined as an apprentice in like the end of June 2000, and in August I went on tour with the company to Scotland and Japan. I was 16 years old. I didn't have a roommate. I wasn't aware of anybody supervising me. As I understand it, that's probably, I think that's important, and kind of a yes, we need that. I was kind of left on my own, and I was dropped into this culture of sink or swim, and huge competitiveness. And I immediately got principal roles within my first year in the company, and was pretty shut down by a lot of the people around me. Mean comments in the hallway, to the point where I had to, like, when I had like a matinee and I was in there early doing my makeup before company class, I had to like write notes and put them on certain people's dressing room spots and say, please leave me alone today so I can do my performance. Otherwise, I'm going to have to tell somebody what's going on. Because I didn't even know, like, I don't think we even had an HR department. Like, this is a huge problem in dance companies, is that like, we don't even know who to talk to if there's a problem. And like, who was I going to go to? Like Peter Martin's? Like, I'm not going to go tell him like she's being mean to me. I'm a kid. I don't have that skill set to even defend myself in that way. I didn't personally. And I had my point shoes stolen in the middle of a performance.
What?
I had 3 ballets on the program, and the first 2 ballets I had pink point shoes, and the last ballet was cortege hangua and white tights and white point shoes. And I put my point shoes during that first intermission. I had to change my hair every intermission. I had 4 tees first, like the little crab girls, and I had a high bun. And then the second ballet was La Sonambula, and I had a low bun for that. And by the end, I had my hair down. And then the third ballet was cortege, back up to a high bun and glue some coins on your head. And I had 20 minutes to do all of these changes. And the last one, I did change my tights and point shoes. And I know my white point shoes were on my dressing room spot. I put them there so that I would be able to change quickly. Gone, cut up in the trash cans, all on the women's dressing room floor. Gone.
Oh my God. I waited. I've heard about this, and it's so deeply disappointing. I'm going to swing back around and ask you about it. I waited 2 years to get my black belt from Japan, the real one with like the kanji on it and the really thick fabric and everything. And it was stolen and hidden. And that was 13 and a half years of hard work. I'm going to swing back around in a second. It sounds, Allison, like you didn't have exactly the same experience, but what I have found as an entrepreneur, and I think the 3 of us share this, is you hear no over and over again. And then even more devastating, I think, what you hear is, who are you to be doing this? And, it can be because you're a woman. In my case, it's, you're an old lady, a housewife. I think there's so many ways to exclude and push somebody's effort away and down. Allison, do you get that? How do you overcome it? I mean, it sounds like you have, very, very strong sense of self.
So I had a similar experience as Ashley did coming into the company when I was 24. Someone had said something to me recently and it resonated, and I'm like, okay, this embodies the idea. You have to respect the position. You do not have to respect the person. Now, why that resonates with me is because just because you earn a rank or a job title, you still have to be personally responsible for how you behave. And when you do not do that, then that line between respect earned or given or taken, like, that's just gone. You don't just automatically get that because you are this rank or this title. You have to be appropriate at all times. And when you're not, I'm not going to be. That's sort of like how it is. So I definitely had those situations, not to the point where my pointers were being split open, but you know, those remarks right before you do a run, you know, like, who do you think you are? Well, you know what? I'm an understudy in this room and I'm going to work as hard as you are. And when I'm asked to do the steps, I'm going to do them. So what my husband and I have done with Art Emotion is that we created we call it the choreographic workshop. And we created this 6 years ago. And we did 2 years of this on our own. And then we went to our boss, Adam Scoot, and we said, okay, you know what? We'd like to partner with Ballet West. Let's explain to you this program. 45 dancers, the ones you're the most interested in from the audition tour, to become trainees or Ballet West 2. And we want to spend 2 weeks with them in a company environment. And what that means is they have company class every morning. They are not in a uniform. First of all, I think uniforms are the very first way to thwart an individual on so many levels, because when they're always told what to wear and how to look, it just becomes what they do, a routine. A child needs to find their way. So we're like, you know what? Wear what you want, come as yourself. You're going to come take company class. We're going to treat you like you're an adult. So that, first of all, the first day we say, if a mother or a father or a guardian emails me, I am ignoring the email, because if you have any problems, you have to find your voice. You need to come talk to us directly. Like, we just do not allow a parent involved, because I'm like, next year you can be in the second company and you are an adult. You have to handle yourself. And then we go into 6 hours of rehearsal, grueling rehearsal, a brand new work. And we guide these dancers. Okay, listen, this is what you're going to be asked to do. This is the speed in which you're going to be asked to do it mentally. Okay, so let's just keep doing this every day until by the end of the 2 weeks, you're there and you're ready and you know what to do. I think just from last year's program, 17 are trainees, but 4 just got hired into Ballet West 2. And 3 of them are performing with the company this week. And they're the ones immediately, when any of the ballet masters are like, they're like, can you go in? They immediately know what they're doing. And I know it's because of even just 2 weeks of that environment.
It's absolutely fantastic. There's so much here that I want to get to. I'm going to ask you, which is totally unfair, but I get to do it, so I'm going to do it. Ashley and then Allison, the 3 things that you would like to see changed about young women coming into companies.
It's not rocket science. I think one of the things that really, really bothers me is making sure that everybody in a superior position to these apprentices calls them by their name. Everybody needs to learn their name. Everybody learns the boys' names. They learn those male apprentice names. There's less of them, they learn their names, but it's the blonde one, or the one with curly hair, or the one with the good feet. And another thing too is that I want us to be taken seriously. You know, my former director once said to me in a meeting, so I hear you want to be a director someday, with a little smirk. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he patted me on the head and said, good for you, dear. It's like, you know, you see men who put out mediocre work, who do not get the good reviews, who hurt dancers, who injure them sometimes with bad choreography, who even the dancers don't like, or the director says, like, doesn't like it, but the director hires them again. And you're like,
Yeah.
and then a woman comes in and puts out anything, good or bad or anything, doesn't matter what the quality is. You check the box, you hired the woman, goodbye. That's it.
So what I'm hearing out of this is, if you have a rule, it should apply to everybody. If one person gets mentored, everybody gets mentored. If music selection is a consultation, it should be consultation for everybody. And then also, and I do hand it to ABT here, it's not a one and done, it's repeat commissions. Any one last point that you would put forward, and then I'm going to turn to Allison.
No, I actually like your point of the repeat commissions. Is everybody gets another chance, because we've seen men over and over again. It's time to equalize that. And, you know, it's, you know, maybe you hire somebody for a small piece and then a big piece, or a big and a small piece, however you want to do it or justify it. Or the hiring process is the same. Some women come to the Choreographic Institute over and over and over again before they get a commission. I think you can look at, actually, one thing about ABT that bothered me was Gemma Bond did New York City Ballet Choreographic Institute, did the ABT one, did on Studio Company, and she didn't get a commission for the main company. But then Marcelo Gomez did, and James Whiteside did, and they didn't jump through all of the hoops that she did. She's been choreographing for New York Theater Ballet forever. She gets good reviews. She has her own company, yet where's her big ballet with ABT? She works there.
Yeah, one of our next projects, Allison and Ashley, is we tried to do this, but we didn't have enough information, but we're looking at we're trying to dissect the career trajectory. So for example, how long does it take for an ex-male dancer to become an artistic director of a major company versus a woman? And then on the choreographic side, how many tries does she have to do it before she gets a main stage piece, a world premiere piece, a full company main stage piece, etc.? Because I do see men sort of jumping over women. Allison, love some thoughts from your perspective, sort of 3-4 tangible bullet point things, not rocket science, that can be done to both improve the training and then this wonderful thing you're doing, which is the transition between a senior student and a professional dancer.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Ashley said, so I'm going to leave those points with her, and I'm going to maybe talk about a few different things and just my own experience recently, like having a child and coming back, and some of the things I experienced, and I think that that needs to improve. So obviously, we know having a child is not easy in any capacity, physically or mentally. Okay, so now I gained 80 pounds during my pregnancy. So when I came back to dancing, it was about my body. Now, I don't think it was a way to make me like a negative. How do I explain it? They thought what I wanted to hear was, Allison, but you got your body back. You're back. Because they couldn't understand when I was having a day where I'm like, I physically cannot do this today. I'm not going to tell you I can't do it tomorrow, but right now I'm being honest, like I can't do this, or my body doesn't allow me to do this, because if you don't know the science, it takes 9 months for your organs to go back in place. So, if when somebody partners me and I squeal, it's not because I'm being a baby, it's because it hurts. Or if my arabesque doesn't want to go up because my bones were moved,
Yep.
it can't go up today. But it was like constantly, but Allison, you lost all your weight. You're back. Dealing with postpartum, which I didn't even want to acknowledge. Then, what is she? She's weak. And I'm working my ass off. I'm exhausted. I'm breastfeeding all night. No, nobody cares. They don't have to care. But then I wrote a social media post, and I can share it with you, but my work ethic was questioned. And that's when I fricking lost it. And that's where I think things go wrong with not just women, but even men experience this. We have to acknowledge that it's not talked about. But like when you're telling to the front of the room, I'm having mental health issues or something else is going on. So I told my boss straight up, him and I have conversations. I think, Ashley, this is where maybe our experiences differ, but I had a conversation with my boss and I said, you want to know what? My biggest mistake that I made this year was that when I was having a bad day, mentally or physically, I just didn't take off. I should have never have come in and shown my vulnerability because you took advantage of it. Mm-hmm. Now that's where I think we can do better for students. And that's what we tell our students at our summer intensives. Look, if you're having that bad of a day, acknowledge it, take a day, and then come back tomorrow. Because instead, when you fight through, we think that if we lose one day, we're not capable, we're not going to get a role, we're not going to get that opportunity. It just starts to compound to a place where we just can't handle it anymore. And that's what we're not talking about. And that's at the root of the problem.
I'm hearing a couple of things coming out of both of you, that there are some basic fundamental things that could and need to change on two fronts. One is standardization and procedures. The second is to recognize the humanity and the value of every student, no matter what the age. And the third one is to understand that you're dealing at a certain point when somebody becomes a professional, you're dealing with an adult. And the treatment should be the same, male or female. And that I think what I'm also hearing is third is it's not a weakness to recognize that someone needs help, that there's a life outside the studio, and that it may make them a better artist. We're seeing artists dance longer. And to me, it's like training a team of Navy SEALs. Think of the hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in both of your training, the wealth of expertise and advice and wisdom that you could give. You don't want to watch a plane of Navy SEALs go down. You don't want to lose experienced senior people, male and female, although I think for women, it's much more that commodification. I want to end on a happy note because there are so many happy things. First of all, I'm going to ask each of you sort of one thing that you're working on that you're really liking. And then Ashley, I would really like to meet your kittens again, just for the fun of it. So super short, thing that you're happy about, you're working on that makes you hopeful, and then we'll meet the kittens and I think we'll be done. So Ashley, I'll let you go first.
So for me, I've taken a hiatus from Ashley Bouder Project to personally improve myself and complete my education. Last semester, I took a full course load at Fordham University, and I'm taking another full course load this semester. I'm majoring in political science and organizational leadership, so I have a double major. And I just think that all of the knowledge and these degrees are just going to help my project. So I want to really push to complete them now while I have the time. So that's really one of my major things that I'm doing. And I also joined the faculty of Manhattan Youth Ballet. So I, like Allison, feel the responsibility of my students and to help them. And I'm really happy to join that organization rather than a bigger ballet school like SAB, because one of our core values is the overall health of our students. So we always take the time to listen to them if they're having a problem. The office door is always open. They come and they just ask us the most random questions, and I make sure in my classes to always tell stories, or if somebody is, you can tell they're having a really bad day, to get them to smile or find some way to connect with them and get the whole class happy and focused on what we need to do rather than bringing other things into the studio. And if they have those other things, then we are there always with time to talk to them. So that's one of the major things that is making me happy in my life, is to help these kids not only be good ballet dancers, but good humans, by showing them that we're good humans and that it exists in the ballet world. And okay, I'll show you the kittens. We're gonna take a little.
Yeah. So Tiernan, Esme, Leo, and Phoenix, right?
They look like little polar bears.
Oh, they do. Oh,
Mama cat is now
Oh,
concerned.
beautiful. What's her name?
This is Zelda.
Hi, Zelda. Congratulations. Oh my goodness, a little bit of joy. That's so wonderful. Thank you. Allison, what are you excited about? What are you working on? What's making you joyful these days?
so Art Emotion is still going strong. And in fact, I felt like over quarantine, it grew in a different direction that I obviously didn't expect with the online virtual presence. I'm a workaholic to the point where it's really, really bad. So I'm actually taking more time for myself, or trying to. So I'm hiring more people to help me, which, like, for 7 years I just didn't do. I tried to do everything for myself, and so that's really what I'm working on, is trying to find a better balance. So, in the mornings I'm not on my phone, I'm spending it with my son, and then I go to work as a dancer, and for 10 hours I am just a ballerina, trying to work on my own body. Because of quarantine, or because of the situation with the pandemic, I rarely dance with my husband, but we're getting to dance a lot. So I'm just trying to, learn that relationship. And then at night I work on Art Emotion. This summer we're taking on the ballet performance night for the Arts Festival here. We're really excited. And we've commissioned Penny Saunders, who created a solo on Jazz Bynum, who's a dancer here for Ballet West too, but she's in Salt Lake City, and I'm just like, how come we've never met? And then we have a new ballet, 20-minute ballet written by Nicholas Mon, who he, I don't know, someone really special to us, and he's writing this ballet. So we're figuring out how we're gonna get that finished. So yeah, we have a lot going on, and it's all good. But really, I'm just trying to find balance in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, well, it sounds like you got a ton of plates up in the air. Gals, thank you very, very much. Generosity of time, some really deep thinking. I so appreciate it. And I've taken so many notes. I'm gonna have to go back over for an hour. Thank you both very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice
Okay.
to meet you both.